I never thought one text message could change everything. But there it was, a short, careless, and impossible to unsee. My name's Sarah, and this is the story of how I found out the person I trusted most had been lying to me for months. We'd been together for almost 3 years, building something I thought was real. We had shared dreams, plans, and Sunday mornings with coffee and laughter. But behind those smiles was something I didn't see coming: a betrayal. This video is not just about how I uncovered the truth, but about the long, painful road that followed, and what it really takes to rebuild trust after it's been shattered. If you've ever been cheated on or even suspected it, you know that gut feeling that just won't go away. The late-night phone calls, the unexplained absences, the change in Tonio, it all started to add up. But I kept brushing it off. I told myself I was overthinking, that love needs trust, and I was just being paranoid. Until that night. That one night when he left his phone on the kitchen counter, and curiosity and instinct got the best of me. What I found wasn't just a betrayal of our relationship. It was a betrayal of everything I thought I knew about him. The person I fell in love with, the person I defended to my friends when they raised concerns, turned out to be someone else entirely, and suddenly, I was left with 1,000 questions and no answers. Was I not enough? When did it start? Who was she? But this story isn't just about heartbreak. It's about what happens after. It's about the silence that comes after the screaming, the nights you spend staring at the ceiling wondering if you'll ever trust anyone again. It's about the hard conversations, the decision whether to walk away or try to fix something that feels so broken. And it's about the people who show up when everything else falls apart, of friends who stay on the phone for hours, family who offer more support than you ever expected, and even strangers online who remind you you're not alone. There's no one-size-fits-all answer to how to overcome cheating. For some, it means leaving and never looking back. For others, it means rebuilding trust brick by brick, hoping love can survive the damage. I had to ask myself if forgiveness was even possible. Could I look at him the same way? Could he ever make it right? What happened next tested me in ways I never imagined. It forced both of us to be brutally honest, not just with each other, but with ourselves. And just when I thought I had made up my mind, something happened that changed everything again. So if you're here looking for a story that's raw, real, and maybe a little too close to home, stick around. Because what came after that messagey a broken bar wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. The day after I found the message, everything felt different. The air between us was thick with silence, even though he didn't know yet that I had seen it. I watched him move around the apartment like nothing had changed, like we were still the same couple who binge-watched shows together and argued over takeout. But I wasn't the same. I was trying to keep it together, trying not to let him see the storm building inside me. I had 1,000 emotions fighting for space: here, anger, heartbreak, confusion. But most of all, I needed to understand why. Why would someone betray the person who stood by them, who loved them unconditionally? We met in college. He was charming, funny, and always knew the right things to say. At first, he felt like home. He made me feel safe, like I could tell him anything. Over time, we became each other's person. You know the type: he inside jokes, shared playlists, late-night talks about the future. But somewhere along the way, something changed. I started noticing little shifts in his behavior. Less eye contact, more time on his phone. Plans cancelled with last-minute excuses. But whenever I asked, he'd reassure me. "You're just overthinking," he'd say with a smile. And I believed him. I wanted to. The message I saw wasn't even long. It didn't need to be. A simple "I miss you too, can't wait to see you again" was enough to crack everything wide open. It was like the final puzzle piece falling into place. I didn't recognize the names saved in his contacts. There were no heart emojis, no dramatic declarations, but that made it worse. It felt casual, like this wasn't new, like it had been going on for a while. And maybe it had. For the next few days, I went into detective mode. Quietly, carefully, I started paying attention to everything: his mood, the way he locked his phone, the late-night showers. I went through old photos, texts, even receipts I found in his pockets. I wasn't proud of it, but when trust is broken, paranoia fills the space it leaves behind. And what I found only raised more questions. There was a dinner bill from a place we never went to. 2 drinks, to intrate tilde copyright S. A voice note sent at 1 a.m. that was mysteriously deleted before I could listen. The more I uncovered, the less I recognized him. And yet, I still hadn't confronted him. I didn't know how, or maybe I just wasn't ready to hear the truth out loud. What scared me most wasn't the betrayal, it was not knowing how deep it went. And somewhere in the middle of all this, I started to question everything. Not just him, but myself. Was I blind? Or did I just choose not to see? I started drifting between two versions of myself. One that still hoped this was all just a misunderstanding, and another that knew deep down something was already broken. Each morning, I'd wake up next to him pretending everything was okay, forcing a smile, laughing at his story so while my mind replayed the message over and over. I kept thinking, maybe if I ask the right question, he'll slip up. Maybe if I catch him at the right moment, I'll get the full truth. But the truth never came willingly, and the weight of pretending started to wear me down. Around this time, my best friend, Lena, started noticing the change in me. She didn't know the details yet, but she could tell I wasn't myself. I finally opened up to her one night, tears spilling out before I could even form words. She wasn't surprised. That hit me harder than I expected. She told me she had felt something was off with him too, especially in the past few months. Things he said that didn't add up. The way he talked about needing space or seemed distracted at gatherings. That's when it hit me. I hadn't been imagining it. The signs were always there. I just didn't want to see them. The deeper I looked, the more I felt trapped between confronting him and holding on to what little piece we had left. Meanwhile, a strange number kept calling his phone late at night. When I asked about it, he brushed it off, said it was work stuff. But his job didn't involve late-night calls. He worked regular hours, 9 to 5, no emergencies. Then there was a new name in his Instagram likes, a woman who seemed to appear out of nowhere. Every post, every story. I didn't know who she was yet, but something about her felt important, too important to ignore. I couldn't stop thinking about that woman. Her name was Rachel. I found it in the comments of one of his older posts, nothing obvious, just a small heart emoji and a miss you buried beneath dozens of others. But once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. I clicked on her profile. Public. Dozens of selfies, travel photos, and what looked like hotel rooms. A few of them looked familiar. One even had the same couch as the one in a picture he sent me a month ago, claiming he was on a solo work trip. My stomach dropped. I didn't know what to do with that. Every instinct in me screamed to confront him. But I hesitated. I needed more. I needed something undeniably, something he couldn't talk his way out of. That's when I made the hardest decision yet. I followed him. Not in a dramatic way, but just enough to see where he was going after work. One Thursday night, I watched him leave the office and get into his car. He wasn't heading home. He drove across town to a quiet neighborhood I didn't recognize. I parked a few cars back, heart pounding the whole time. He got out, checked his phone, and walked up to a small townhouse. He knocked. The door opened, and there she was, Rachel, smiling, comfortable, like this was routine. I sat frozen, watching them hug like they'd done it 100 times before. Like this wasn't new, like I didn't exist. That moment broke something in me. All the doubt, the waiting, the questions. I suddenly had more answers than I wanted. But I didn't move. I didn't cry. I just sat there, staring through the windshield, wondering how I had ended up in this place, wondering what I would do next. I stayed in the car long after they went inside. My hands were shaking, and my mind kept trying to convince me this could still mean nothing. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe it was just a friend. But deep down, I knew better. I didn't need to see what happened behind that door to feel the truth sinking in. Still, I couldn't leave. Not yet. Something told me to wait. After about an hour, the porch light flicked off, and the front door opened. But it wasn't him who stepped out. It was Rachel. She was on the phone, pacing the sidewalk, her voice carrying just enough for me to hear bits and pieces. That's when I heard something I wasn't prepared for. No, she still doesn't know. He said he'd talk to her soon. Her tone was annoyed, like this conversation had happened before. I told him he's playing with fire. If she finds out like this, it's going to blow up. I froze. She was talking about me. There was no more pretending now. This wasn't a random mistake or a one-time thing. This was calculated, ongoing. And worst of all, they were planning around me, not even considering the damage they'd already done. I wasn't just cheated on, I was being manipulated. But then, just as I started my car to finally leave, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. It said, "You deserve better. Ask him about New Year's Eve." My heart skipped. I read it again, trying to process what it meant. Who was this? Another person involved? Someone else he lied to? Or someone trying to help? New Year's Eve. That night came rushing back. He said he was with his cousin out of town. I'd believed him. I even spent the night alone, feeling guilty for being upset he didn't want to spend it with me. Suddenly, I remembered the one photo he posted of a fireworks shot from a rooftop. No people, no context. I had brushed it off at the time. Now it looked different. Everything did. And if this message was right, then Rachel wasn't the only one. There was more. More lies. More betrayal. The story I thought I understood had just turned into something else entirely, something deeper and way more dangerous. The next morning, I didn't wait for the right moment. I confronted him the second he walked through the door. He looked surprised, maybe even a little nervous, but he tried to play it cool. I asked him directly about Rachel, about the townhouse, and finally, about New Year's Eve. For a second, he just stared at me like he was deciding which version of the truth to tell. Then, he sighed and sat down. He admitted to seeing Rachel for the last few months. Said it just happened and that things between us hadn't felt the same. I could barely listen. But when I brought up the mysterious message, the one about New Year's Eve, his face changed. His whole posture stiffened, and he asked me who sent it. That's when I knew there was more to the story. Something he didn't want getting out. I pushed harder. He finally confessed that Rachel wasn't the only one. On New Year's, he was with someone else entirely, a co-worker from his office. It had been going on even before Rachel. My stomach turned. I wasn't just cheated on. I had been living in a lie for over a year, and each layer I uncovered revealed a darker truth about the person I thought I knew. I left that day, packed a bag and walked out without saying anything else. I was done waiting for explanations that never came. I thought that was the end. But then, 2 weeks later, I got another message. This time, from a different number. It simply said, "You're not the only one he lied to. He told me you two were over a long time ago." It was from Rachel. I didn't expect that. For so long, I saw her as the enemy, the other woman. But now, she was another piece of the same story, a woman who had been lied to, just like me. Turns out, she had started suspecting things too. And when she saw my name pop up in an old photo on his Facebook, she realized the truth. That message she made on his post, it wasn't a signal of love. It was bait. She had already figured him out and was trying to confirm what she feared. In the end, the person I loved was a stranger to both of us. And maybe the real twist wasn't the betrayal but the strange, unexpected connection that came from it. After Rachel reached out, we talked for hours. At first, it was awkward, two strangers connected by the same betrayal. But once the wall came down, we realized how similar our stories were. The same sweet words, the same lies, the same excuses. She had believed in him just like I did. And just like me, she had slowly started putting the pieces together. She wasn't trying to steal anyone. She had no idea I even existed until recently. That changed something in me. I stopped seeing her as part of the hurt and started seeing her as someone who got hurt too. We shared screenshots, compared timelines, filled in each other's gaps. And the more we uncovered, the more we realized how much he had manipulated both of us. It wasn't about one mistake or one moment of weakness. It was a pattern, a choice he kept making over and over. And somehow, instead of feeling more broken, I felt lighter. The truth hurt her, but it also freed me. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. I was just trusting the wrong person. In the weeks that followed, I focused on healing. Real healing, and not just distracting myself or pretending I was okay. I leaned on people who truly cared. I started therapy. I went back to the things I loved but had pushed aside. Writing, running, just sitting with my thoughts without trying to run from them. And I slowly stopped asking why he did it, because even if I got every answer, it wouldn't change what happened. What mattered more was what I did next. The biggest takeaway: cheating isn't just about the physical act. It's about dishonesty, about breaking emotional trust. Rebuilding from that takes time, and sometimes it doesn't mean repairing the relationship, it means rebuilding yourself. Rebuilding your self-worth, your boundaries, your peace. As for him, I never heard from him again after I left. Not even an apology, and I'm okay with that. Some people never change. Some truths don't come with closure. But I found something better: a clarity, strength, and a reminder that I deserve honesty and respect. This story wasn't easy to live through, and it wasn't easy to tell. But if you're going through something like this, know that you're not alone. You can overcome betrayal. You can rebuild trust first in yourself, and eventually, with others. And sometimes, the most painful endings are what lead us to our real beginning.